All right, my name is Timo Ylikoski. I'm a customer support consultant here at Adsotech, and today we're going to be talking about managing long texts using Winshuttle Studio. So we'll first go through a couple of slides, just some background information, talk a little bit about the concepts of long texts, how to work with them. We'll look at a few different ways how to manage long texts, sort of the traditional way of recording long texts, and then at the end we'll go through the new Winshuttle Studio add long text feature, which will be the main focus of today's presentation. But it's good to go first through the concept here. So I'll try my best to first explain how this works, and then it'll hopefully all come together once you see the actual product demonstration. So let's get started here. So long texts in SAP come in many shapes and many sizes. They could be these kind of large text boxes where you have the whole entire long text object in basically a single large field, or the same text can be represented in a so-called editor view where the same data is spread over multiple lines, so split into multiple lines. And again, this is something that differs between different SAP transactions. Sometimes you have this view available. Sometimes you only have this kind of view available for long text objects when you want to add long text, for instance. So again, this is something that SAP is not super consistent with. Sometimes you have to manage text in this mode, sometimes in that mode, and which makes it also a little bit more challenging, especially when you want to record this in a traditional way. So so sort of the traditional method, something that was used for many years when with previous versions of Winshuttle Studio, you actually had to manually record these. So when you're talking about a text object that is in a single text box like this, it's fairly simple then to manage this with a recording. You just basically record it as a single field. So the end result will be that you'll have an Excel where you have, in this case, it's a material related text. So you have the material number, then you have a separate field or Excel cell for the whole entire long text object. And then when you run the script, Winshuttle just takes the text object from that cell and uploads it into SAP through this one single large text box field in SAP, which is, if you're manually recording long texts, this is probably the easiest way to work with long text objects. So you can, with this method and this kind of recording, you can upload texts, but unfortunately you cannot download or read the text contents from this single large text box. Another sort of traditional method is managing the text in this line editor view, where the text is split into multiple lines of a maximum character length of 72 characters per line. And then when you record it, these are essentially, each line is essentially treated as a single SAP field. So this would be, I don't know how many lines that is, a dozen or so. So this would be a dozen different fields in your Excel template. So for instance, the Excel template would look something like this. You again have the material number here. Then you'd have one Excel column for the first row of data or the first text row, and then another cell for the second text row, and so on. So you have to actually split the text into multiple fields, multiple Excel columns, and none of them can be longer than 72 characters. But then when you run the script, Winshuttle then uploads these one by one, takes the first row and uploads it to the first row there, then goes through the rows like this until all the rows are processed. So this process, with this you can actually upload and download text from the line editor view. But of course the challenge here will be be then to manage the text in your Excel template, because you have to split the text into multiple fields of a maximum of 72 characters per field or per line, which then makes it quite annoying to split the text, and it's not really feasible in many cases. But there are still cases in SAP where this is the only option you have. So this is still good to know that this is the way we traditionally handled long texts sometimes. So the two before mentioned so-called traditional methods, they both mean that the text object, the long text, has to actually be recorded. So when you are recording something with Winshuttle, you have to actually go into and update a long text or whatever you are doing with the long text. It's also recording mode specific. And now it also depends on what it is that you are exactly doing, because the process can be a little bit different depending on whether you actually want to create a brand new long text, edit an existing long text, or just read it. And even with editing long texts, there can be a difference in how you would work with the text. If you are, let's say, if you just want to add something in the middle of the text, or maybe add append some new text to the end of the existing text. So those can be all slightly different processes when it comes to recording the transaction. So it can there's a lot to keep in mind. So you have to be conscious of what recording mode you choose and how exactly you record it. And then that's what often causes frustration for people, because you end up redoing it multiple times. And then what makes it even or adds another layer of complexity is if you are maintaining multiple language versions of the texts. So then you have to also take that into account. If you are creating an English text and a Finnish text and a Swedish text, then you have to have a script that creates all of those, and then it gets even more complicated. So we are sort of now moving away from these traditional methods, but it's good to know that these are still available if there are cases where you have to actually manually record a long text script. These are here, and there's documentation you can look up on how to actually work with these manually. But the main topic, or what I want to share with you today, is related to the add long text feature in Winshuttle Studio, which was originally introduced in Winshuttle Studio version 11. So it's been around for a few years now. So I still call it the new long text feature, but it's been around for a while. But the first thing is whether you have this feature available depends, first of all, on your Winshuttle function module. So if you're not familiar with the Winshuttle function module, it is the component of the Winshuttle solution that is installed in your SAP system. So your basis team will need to install the Winshuttle function module there. And probably most of you already have it there. But what version of the function module you have also can impact what kind of long text objects you have or can use with the add long text feature. So short version is you want to make sure that you have the latest versions of Winshuttle Studio and Winshuttle function module installed in your SAP system to be able to use all the features in Winshuttle Studio, including managing all the different long texts. Then this add long text feature makes life so much easier, because you don't have to actually record the long text process itself. You'll need some kind of script, either an existing script or you can record a new script, and then you can quite easily later on add a long text object to your script, or add multiple long text objects. And it also includes controls to manage different language versions, so you don't even have to care about the languages when you are recording something. So, and I'll show a demo of this shortly, so you can see how this works in practice. But it makes it a lot easier, because you don't have to worry about the recording modes or how exactly to record the script, because you don't really care about the long text during the recording when you are using this add long text feature. The way this works, which sort of can be a little confusing, I guess, when you first start working with long texts using this feature, is that the long text upload is managed separately from the main script. So the idea is that you will need some sort of a script, and the example I'll be going through today is related to material master data. So it's going to be an MM02 process. So we'll just first record something simple in MM02. So we have an MM02 script. Then we can later on add long text objects to that script. And then when we execute the script, Winshuttle will first execute the normal MM02 script and do whatever it is that script is doing. And then after that execution is completed, then Winshuttle will process the add long text command separately from the main script. And hopefully this is something that will become a little bit clearer once I'll share some examples and show you a live demo. So, and then this means that this add long text feature only works with a certain set of T codes. There's a list of supported T codes that you can look up in the Studio product help, and they are all like read or display or update T codes, so 02 or 03 T codes commonly, because you cannot add the long text to like a creation script, like to an MM01 script, and I'll explain that in the next slide or the slide after that. But if you have a process where you are first creating something, then you want to add long text so that you can use script linking to form chains of scripts, and then that allows you to add long texts even to processes where you are creating new records, like whatever it is, MM01 or VA01 or FP01 or whatever the process is that you are working on. So there are some limitations. It only works with the officially supported T codes, but this is something that Winshuttle is constantly working on. So with new Studio versions, Winshuttle, depending on the customer need, Winshuttle adds support for new T codes. So this is something where you can also be involved if there is some T code, some process that you use on a regular basis that involves long text objects, and then just contact our support. We can then raise it as a improvement suggestion with Winshuttle, and hopefully they will then add support for that T code in a later release of Winshuttle Studio. But yeah, that's another reason why you wanna keep your function module and your Winshuttle Studio up to date. Because if there are new T codes that are supported, you will need to update all your components as well. But the idea, or how this works, I mentioned that the long text upload works separately from the main script. So here we have an example of a template, and we have created a script, just whatever, a generic script here. So we have some fields in Excel that we want to update in SAP. I have just labeled them XYZ, so they could be anything, just generic fields. So for that, you do just a standard SAP recording with Winshuttle Studio. You record it, build a template for it, map the fields to Excel. Now, when you use the add long text feature, like I said, it's handled separately from the main script. So when you use the add long text feature, Winshuttle will add some fields that are needed for the long text upload, and they will be added to your template, or you will need to map them to whatever columns you want to use for those fields in Excel, like so. So in this example, we would have just one long text object. So your template could look something like this. So you have the whatever fields for the main script, then you have a log column for that script, then you have fields that are related to the long text upload, and they will have their own individual log message column. So when you would execute a solution, a script like this that has some kind of recording and then a long text object, they are executed individually. So let's skip to the next slide. So when you first start, and this would be like like we've seen with all scripts. When you run a script, Winshuttle will take the fields related to that script and upload the data from those Excel columns to SAP, and then in return you'll get a log message from SAP saying that the changes have been saved. So this would be the part one. When you run the script, Winshuttle will first do the whatever T code it is that you have recorded, and if you have some fields related to that, the data will be uploaded to SAP. You'll get a log message, and then after this, it will automatically execute the next step, which will be then step 2, that is to upload the long text to SAP. So it's done as a separate connection to SAP. So then Winshuttle takes the fields that are relevant to the long text. In this case, the long text fields are the language key and the actual contents of the log text, but also the record number, because we need to tell with this long text upload, we'll need to tell SAP what the record is, what the number of the record is that we are attaching the long text to. And so this is sort of the reason why you can't add long text objects using this feature to any creation script, because when you are creating something, you don't yet know the record number. But for the long text upload, we need to know the record number so that we can actually tell SAP to attach the long text to this specific record in SAP. And then in return, you also get a log message, hopefully saying something like this, that the long text has been saved. So this is sort of kind of, because it's different from what you are, if you have been using Winshuttle for a while, this is sort of different from how you've been using Winshuttle in the past, because it's done as a separate SAP connection. First run the script, then as a separate remote function call, you will upload, or Winshuttle Studio will upload the long text to SAP. So to further illustrate and hopefully make it a little bit clearer, let's actually jump into Winshuttle Studio and have a look at this in practice. So it'll then hopefully make more sense when we go through it here in product. So let's do a simple MM02 recording, and then once that's recorded, we'll add a long text object to that script, and then we'll do a couple of test runs to see how that works, how we can manage the long text. So let's start a new recording. So now we're doing just a recording. We're doing an MM02 where we do something. I'll just change the weight value. So we have, the idea is that we have some kind of MM02 script. Then I'll exit out, and the key thing to keep in mind here is that I just went to the basic data one view. I didn't touch anything related to long texts. I just updated the net weight and gross weight, and then I exit out and save. So this would be some kind of script and then of course this script can do whatever you need it to go. You can go through different views, upload data to different fields, whatever is needed. You don't even have to care about the long text. So we are just recording a regular script. And now we're back in Winshuttle Studio. So let's first map these few fields. So we'll put material number in column A, and then we have the net weight and gross weight. That's the change number. I didn't want that. And then let's map the log column also manual. So that's what the normal script would look like. We're just a couple of fields upload fields and a log column. Now, normally you would probably want to test this part first. Make sure that your MM02 script or whatever process you are automating, just make sure that the basic script works, does whatever it's supposed to do, and then start worrying about the long texts. But that's sort of the easy part, because for that part there's a button up here called add long text, and when I click on this, Winshuttle Studio will display all long text objects that are related to this T code we just recorded. So in this case, all long texts that we are using in our SAP system in MM02. And then we can pick things from this list. We can pick multiple long texts, but for now, let's just stick to one. We'll do the basic data text and click on OK. And the thing to keep in mind, if you look at, we have here like 6 different fields here at the moment. But when we add the long text object, a couple of things will happen. Winshuttle will automatically map some fields here. We can actually ignore because we want to ignore them for now because we want to change that manually. But if you look at the number of fields here in our list up here, you can see that a few new entries were created here, added. So there's there's the actual long text field, which would be the contents of the long text itself, whatever the long text is. Then we have another field, which will be the language key for the long text. Then there will be a new field labeled material number for the basic data text. This means that this will be the material number that we want to add the long text object to. And then one more thing, we have another log column here for the long text upload. But now Winshuttle automatically maps the basic data or the long text related material number to a new Excel column here. But for our basic script, we already have the material number here in column A. So usually it's not a good idea to like duplicate data like this. So instead, we can say that we want to use the same column A for this field as well. So we can map this. So click down, drag and drop the column up here. And now this field will be mapped to 2 different things. It'll be mapped to the normal material number for our MM02 script, but then we'll use the same field for the material number which we need then when we are uploading the long text. And this is fine. You can reuse Excel columns multiple times. An Excel column can be mapped to multiple fields. You see here, this is mapped to column A, and this is also mapped to column A. And now there's a couple of fields here. We have the language key. So let's put that into column A. So I will map it here. And then I will put the actual long text itself into column F, like so. And then I'll manually map the log column for the long text upload by dragging it into column G. So let's go ahead and try this, test this out. And I'll change these values a little bit so our normal script will do something. So when we execute the script, Winshuttle will open up this material in MM02, upload these weight values, then we'll get a log message here. Then after that, it will execute the long text upload and upload the long text using this language, and this will be the actual contents of the long text field. Let's just call it something like, what was it? It was basic data text. And this can have a line break, so you can press Alt Enter to change lines and let's put something else here. So today let's put the date, so we can then easily see in SAP. So the whole text contents would be then entered into this one single cell. And actually, I'll try disabling the Start SAP GUI. It'll hopefully make our script run a little bit faster. So let's then save this, and then we are ready to actually run it and see what happens. So now it's running. It should first run the MM02 script, give us a log message here, and then instantly it will then execute the long text upload and give us another log message here, like so. So we can see here that material was changed and saved, and then we see here a message that the long text was uploaded. Of course, now you would normally want to go log into SAP, go to MM02 and open up this material and make sure that this text was actually saved there. But what we can do is we can actually now switch this around to a read script and try reading the contents of the long text. So instead of uploading a text, let's clear those. We'll switch this to a read script or a read field. So let's go back to the mapping view. And this is really simple. You can quite easily, and this works with other fields. This is not limited to long text. You can read other field contents with Winshuttle Studio as well. So let's find our long text, basic data text mapped to column F. So we can simply click on the mapping icon here, which is currently showing an arrow pointing upwards to indicate that this is an upload field. So we can simply change it to a green downwards pointing arrow to indicate that this is now a download field. So just switch it around. And also in the Excel template, the background color for the header in column F changes to this kind of purple color to indicate that this is now a read field, not an upload, not a data upload field. Let's go back to the Run tab, save, and then let's try executing our script again. So hopefully we can then extract that long text from SAP. We'll still do the first part, MM02, something like that. Okay, it looks like this is in this version, in this SAP system, it doesn't have the newest function module, so it's actually losing the line breaks. It would have worked in the other SAP system, but so that's missing from this our backup SAP system. But that's the idea, anyways. That way you can just switch the arrow around in the mapper view, and then you can quickly turn a field, any field, from an upload field to a download field. And now if we wanted to actually create multiple different language versions, we would just keep copying these rows and add a different language key here. Also, now we've been only working with, or in this example, we only have one long text object here. You could add multiple long texts, but then keep in mind that for each long text, or each long text object is sort of processed individually. So if I added another long text, I would have to have another field for the second long text, and then another log column maybe here for that long text upload. So each long text object that you want to add to your script will have its own individual set of fields and its own individual log column. So if you have you are adding 5 different long texts, then you will have 5 different sets of fields, including 5 different log columns, one for each long text. So it can first seem a little bit challenging to manage all those fields here, but I recommend you start using these one at a time, then it'll be easier. Also pay attention to what fields are added to your script. For instance, if I now we were looking at the basic data text, but if instead of that, let's actually first try removing it. So we can see you can uncheck something and click OK. It will remove it from your script. The data will still be here, and you will need to manually delete these values down here. But just to illustrate that certain long text objects have different fields related. For instance, sales text. If I add a sales text, which is another long text object, if I add this to my MM02 script, it actually adds a few additional fields, because there will be the same fields that we had for the basic data text, like the long text and the language. But since this is a sales related text, we also need to specify the sales organization and the distribution channel. So in this case, we would have to map all of these, like start maybe in whatever order you want: sales organization, distribution channel, then the language, and then the, let's say, the long text over here. So the amount of fields depend on what the actual long text object it is that you are working on, and then this would have its own individual log column as well. And again, for this, we would want to use the same material number in column A, something like that. So that's the basic idea of this add long text feature. It means that you don't really need to care that much about long texts when you are doing the recording. You definitely don't have to record anything related to long texts. You can then later on add all or select any of the available long text objects from this list, and Winshuttle will automatically add all the relevant fields to your script, and then you can easily start testing the long text feature. In this case, we had an MM02 script that updated the weight values, but technically your MM02 script doesn't have to really do anything. The idea is that you have to actually have some kind of a script that you are attaching the long text to, but it could just as well be like a dummy script where you only have the material number, and basically these wouldn't exist. You would record a script where you are just opening up a material or whatever you are working on, whatever record, open it up in SAP, don't do anything, just exit out, just so that you have some kind of script that you can then start adding long text objects to. And then something like this could be linked to for instance, an MM01 script. If you wanted to create a new material and then add long texts to that, you would have a separate script for the MM01 part that creates the material. Then you would do something simple like this, create another MM02 script where you could just open up the material during the recording and then exit out without actually changing anything. And then that will allow you to use the add long text feature here to add any and all kinds of long text objects to that script. So that's really all I wanted to share with you today regarding the long text and add long text feature. The demo didn't go quite as smoothly as planned, but we managed to get through it using our backup system, so that's good. So hopefully that gave you now an idea of how you could use this feature and how easy it is. It still takes a little bit of practice to like fully get familiar with the feature, but it's so much easier than actually manually recording all the long text and so on. And this was anyway a very brief introduction. There's lots of material related to this online. One good starting point might be the Adsotech training site listed here on the slide, or you can always contact us via email. So that's really all for today. And then if you are joining us next week, then we'll be going through basics of Winshuttle query, which is sort of related to this as well, because we were already talking a little bit about how to extract data from SAP. But then next week we'll discuss that in more detail, what kind of data extraction queries we can build using Winshuttle query. But that's all for today. I want to thank you all for joining, and good luck with long texts. Thank you.